The courtroom is quiet, but the air is heavy with storm weight. The faces are strained, and whispers are stifled. Every eye glued to the front where lives, reputations, and millions of dollars are at stake. It's not merely a court fight. This is a family destroying itself in the harsh, brightest spotlight possible. And at the center of it all is Kody Brown. His eyes moving between the judge, the jury, and the women who once shared not just his residence, but his religion, his vows, and his polished image. This was never meant to occur. The world of sister wives was constructed on togetherness, on trust, on the belief that love could be stretched between many lives without the ties snapping. But off camera, off microphone, behind the forced smiles and precisely crafted phrases, cracks were widening. Deep-seated secrets, hidden in spreadsheets, whispered talks in 3 a.m. kitchens, and concealed wills that no one was ever intended to witness, were on the verge of tearing apart. Today was no longer about family. Today was about betrayal. Today was about control. And for a few, today was about revenge. Christine occupies the gallery, her hands clasped tightly, knuckles bleached against the sheen of the wooden bench. She is not merely a spectator here, she is a witness, a survivor, and maybe the only person brave enough to say things that other people won't. To her side, Janelle sets her jaw, her face impassive, but her silence more eloquent than words. Robyn fidgets in discomfort, eyes shining with tears, looking in Kody's direction for reassurance. But Kody provides none. His attention is fixed on the incriminating evidence mounting against him. Every tick of the clock echoes like a hammer. The judge's gavel hasn't even struck. But the trial has already begun in the hearts of those watching. What's at stake is not only money, it's legacy. It's the truth about how far a man would go to protect his empire, even if it meant destroying the very foundation he claimed to build. And yet, buried in the documents, hidden behind sealed envelopes and whispered confidences, there is a secret more explosive than anyone might have dared to imagine. A secret that would unravel all of it, not only Kody's reputation, but the tenuous loyalty of the women who once trusted him. The drama in the courtroom thickens with every second. Newspapers write frantically. Cameras lurk by the doors, and all over the country, viewers who came to envision a family fighting for religion, and family now watch in shock, as that idealized image falls apart piece by piece. What unfolds in this courtroom will not only determine the fate of Kody Brown, it will reveal the secret that has been hidden for years. And for all of us sitting at home, one question won't go away. Was love what held this family close? Or was it power? The first day of trial gets underway with a gray cloud-heavy sky, as if the weather can feel the gravity of what is about to happen. Outside the courthouse, cameras burst like lightning. Reporters shout questions, and viewers of the show once devoted, now divided, squabble over who is telling the truth. Some arrive with homemade signs supporting Kody, others for Christine and Janelle, their voices blending into a tempest of conflicting allegiances. Behind the doors, the courtroom buzzes with tense silence. A scent of old wood and paper, the sort that lingers in locations where history is created, and lives are forever altered, hangs in the air. The judge sits, her face impassive, but her presence demanding silence. The case garnered national attention, not only due to the reality television celebrities involved, but because it exposes something more sinister: the dark intersection of faith, family, and money. Kody arrives in a crisp suit, but his shoulders are tense, his face white under the light of the courtroom. For one who is used to dictating the story, today he appears trapped. Robyn is behind him, her eyes already teary with unshed tears, her binder of papers gripped as if they might protect her from what is to be. Christine and Janelle sit across from them, not quiet background figures this time, but women who are intent on witnessing the truth exposed. The opening arguments commence. The prosecution does not delay in presenting a portrait of manipulation, clandestine financial transactions, and broken commitments. They speak of a will, one that had been modified under questionable circumstances, moving enormous amounts of inheritance funds from their intended recipients, and straight into Kody and Robyn's hands. Gasps spread throughout the courtroom as the words are absorbed. Christine's gaze drops to her lap, her hands shaking, Yet she doesn't deny her response. To her, this is not merely a matter of money. It's a matter of years of sacrifice, loyalty, and betrayal. Janelle, on the other hand, is steadfast, her silence cutting more biting than any rant could. Robyn leans in against Kody, whispering frantically, but his jaw clenches, unwilling to respond to the stares searing into his back. The fractures in Kody's formerly impeccable reputation are no longer buried. They're out in public for all to see. The defense responds in turn, presenting Kody as a man of misunderstood virtue, smeared by angry ex-wives, bent on punishing him. They maintain the will was legally altered, that each decision was open, and that the claims are mere attempts at soiling his reputation. Robyn blots her eyes with a tissue, her soft sobs projecting the image of a family man beset, but the jury hears intently, and the balance of the evidence is tipping barely. Beyond the official language and sheaf of documents, the narrative unfolding is one of control, silence, and secrecy, things which do not vanish when cameras are turned off. And as the attorneys exchange blows with words, the question is who will crack first, and what truths will be pushed out into the open. The second day begins with a thicker silence than yesterday. The crowd in front of the courthouse has doubled, their signs more pointed, their chanting louder, but in the courtroom it seems almost claustrophobic. Every shuffling of feet, every anxious cough, seems amplified. Journalists lean forward in their chairs, pens ready to record each momentous instant. Christine gets up on the stand. For years her audience thought they knew her as the warm, steady presence, the mother who stood firm with dignity, even when her voice wasn't always being heard. But here on oath, her voice is different. It's unbreakable, unflinching, driven by more than memory and a deep well of betrayal. She remembers the evenings when money documents suddenly materialized on the table, papers Kody shoved over with minimal description. She talks of quiet discussions between Kody and Robyn, discussions that always concluded with doors shut and voices hushed when anyone else approached. Her words do not only declare actions, they paint an image of exclusion, of choices made behind closed doors, while others were left to think things were equal. Kody glares at her, his jaw clenched, his eyes squinting with every word, but Christine doesn't back down. For the first time in years, she is not attempting to make peace. She is being honest, her truth, and the courtroom senses it. The courtroom doesn't only hear Christine's words, they sense the years of silence shattering all at once. Then there is the moment that changes the atmosphere entirely. The prosecution introduces a copy of the disputed will. The document is old, the ink somewhat faded, yet the signatures are legible. One is that of the deceased relative, whose property is at the heart of this fight. Another is that of Kody. And the third, scribbled, practically hurried, belongs to Robyn. Gasp runs through the courtroom. Christine blinks her eyes shut, as if verifying what she had dreaded from the very beginning. Janelle leans forward, her mouth open but nothing escaping her lips. Robyn clutches the edge of the table, tears welling in her eyes as she shakes her head with vigor. Her attorney contends at once that the signature is real, that all was done in good faith. But the prosecution speaks up, citing inconsistencies, dates that don't match, and money transfers made mere days after the ink had dried. The judge's gavel thumps, demanding order, but the silence that ensues seems even greater than the bedlam. It's not about money anymore. This is about trust and morality, betraying family, and whether or not loyalty can hold when secrets are dragged out of the shadows. Kody finally breaks his silence, his words biting, slicing through the tension. He swears that he only did what he had to do to protect what was his, that Christine and Janelle had twisted the tale to portray him as evil. But even as he speaks, his voice is cracking on the edges. It is not the assured voice of the man that audiences once saw in charge of a family. It is the voice of a person grasping to cling on to a narrative that is getting away. Christine's eyes lock onto his for an instant. There are no words spoken, but the load of history between them hangs in the air. Years of mutual sacrifice, broken vows, and unspoken grievances, all come crashing together in that one glance. And in that silence, something becomes clear. This trial is not simply about what's on paper. It's about the unseen truths that ink can never fully reveal. If this is only the beginning, then what comes next will tear open wounds no one expected to see. The tension within the courtroom is palpable. Each breath, Each look, each rustle of paper sounds more pronounced than it needs to. The walls themselves appear to recede just a little bit further in, carrying with them the secrets that are ready to spill. The prosecutor calls his next witness, an old family accountant, a guy who used to touch every dollar, every trust fund, every late-night financial tweak. Kody demanded he make. He ambles up to the stand slowly, his skin pale but resolute. For years his name hardly came up at all, just a ghost behind the figures. But today he's the one who might unravel the tale. He clears his throat, his voice firm. He describes how accounts were moved, how money once earmarked for Christine's children and Janelle's family appeared to disappear, sent to accounts only Kody and Robyn could access. Dates are itemized, transfers identified, figures that make the eyes of the jurors widen. Christine slouches forward, her mouth open in disbelief as digits verify something she had long believed, but never quite established. Janelle glances down, her fists clutching each other, her facade shattering for the first time. Robyn shakes her head, muttering words understood only by Kody, her cheeks flushed with a combination of terror and outrage. The courtroom no longer is about seeking the truth. It is a battlefield where each new revelation is more painful than the last. Kody's attorney stands up hastily, objecting, claiming the accountant was coerced, that his books are incomplete, that a decade of financial intricacy cannot be reduced to allegations of fraud. But the witness holds his ground. He reminds the court that he quit rather than get involved in dubious behavior, his conscience too burdensome to keep silent. The gallery stirs. Reporters write more furiously. In the back, somewhere a woman audibly gasps, the sound traveling through the room like thunder. The judge requests silence. But the silence which ensues is just as loud. Then recall Christine. But this time with the will in her possession. She reads the signatures once more, fingers shaking as her voice trembles. This wasn't what was promised. This wasn't the family we were meant to be. Her words ring with years of unspoken pain, shattering the glossy veneer the world once perceived. Kody's face sets. He stands up despite the urging of his lawyer, and speaks out of turn. His tone is bitter, laced with anger, but beneath the anger is desperation. He demands Christine and Janelle are resentful, that they pervert truth into falsehood to punish him for decisions they could never abide. His voice rings out, echoing off the wooden panels. But the impact is not power, it is disintegration. For the first time, Kody's grip falters, and the courtroom witnesses not the leader he professes to be, but the man struggling hard to cling to a collapsing empire. Robyn suddenly breaks down, covering her face with both hands. Her sobbing echoes through the room, as Kody once again sits back down, his lawyer muttering urgently in his ear. Christine closes her eyes, attempting to regain strength and silence. Janelle, on the other hand, looks at the jury, her expression calm, almost beseeching, not for herself, but for the truth. The judge orders a recess, but no one stands up immediately. The room is stilled, holding in that instant, each individual attempting to take in what it is they just witnessed. Cameras outside capture the news in an instant, the headlines racing, explosive testimony in sister wives' trial. As the courtroom clears, whispers circulate, questions are sharpened, and one chilling reality sets in: this trial is no longer merely about money or inheritance. It's about revealing the price of silence, the cost of allegiance, and if love ever existed in the shadows of control. And with each minute that passes, the secrets yet to come out of the woodwork threaten to be even more sinister than anyone had ever conceived. The courtroom resumes after the break, but the atmosphere is heavier. Even the fluorescent lights in the ceiling appear fainter, as if the truth itself has put a shadow over the room. Reporters grip their notebooks harder, jurors share nervous looks, and the Brown family members refrain from looking at each other. Christine walks in first, her pace deliberate but measured. Janelle comes next, her jaw clenched, a tempest brewing beneath her tranquil surface. And then Kody steps in, his face set with determination. Robyn following close behind him with pink eyes and a tissue still clutched in her fingers. The judge motions for the hearing to resume. The prosecutor stands up. Your Honor, we ask that Exhibit 47 be entered into evidence before the jury. A big envelope is brought to the front. Held inside is a pile of letters, written by hand, delicate but full of power. They are Christine's diaries, pages she never intended the public would read, but which had been presented as evidence when she obtained legal representation. As one is read aloud, Christine glares down at the table, her knuckles white. Her words from years past ring out in the courtroom. I begged Kody to listen to me, but my voice always disappeared under his choices. I felt like a ghost in my own marriage. My children's needs drowned beneath his commitments to Robyn. The money wasn't ever the question. It was the betrayal that drained us dry. The jury huddles, their faces changing from inquisitive to sympathetic to angry. Kody fidgets in his seat, his jaw tightening with each word. Robyn leans over and says something in his ear, but he shakes his head wildly, staring at Christine. The silence that follows the journal entries is deafening, the whole room seeming to be holding its breath, waiting for Kody to snap. But before he gets a chance to speak, Janelle is summoned forward. She testifies at first calmly, methodically, but within a few minutes, she is shaking with tears. She speaks of late-night fights, when money vanished inexplicably, when fairness was promised, but resulted in secrecy. She speaks of times her children asked her why they didn't get the same things Robyn's did, and the humiliation she felt for not being able to answer. Her words cut harder than figures ever could. They are not finance-related. They are about love, dignity, and the disintegration of a family once bound by tenuous threads. Her eyes well with tears, but she doesn't pause. Kody leaps up once more, pounding his fists onto the table. His attorney attempts to restrain him, but he yells above Janelle's voice. This is a circus. They twist everything. They knew what they signed up for. His words resound, cruel and bitter, ringing off the walls of the courtroom like a tempest breaking loose. The judge admonishes him to get hold of himself, but the harm is already done. His tirade says more than any witness could, that the calm, controlled patriarch has vanished, replaced by a man disintegrating before our very eyes. Christine regards him then, her eyes bright, unyielding. You always claimed loyalty was everything, she whispers, and the words cut through the tension like a razor. But loyalty without love is merely control. The gallery erupts into a hum of whispers, the judge slamming the gavel for silence. Robyn breaks into tears once more, burying her face, while Kody glares at Christine with anger, and something that resembles eerily closely with fear. This is no longer merely testimony. It is confession, accusation, and confrontation all combined. The hearing concludes with the judge announcing a brief adjournment, but the courtroom hums like a hornet's nest. In the lobby outside, the press scrambled to deliver the shockers. Christine's diaries, Janelle's devastation, Kody's meltdown, and in the viewers' hearts, one heartbreaking question remains. If these were the things they were willing to reveal, what more sinister truths remain locked away? Because, if anything has been established by this trial, it's that the most profound scars are the ones nobody wished to admit. The fifth day of the trial dawns under a gray sky, as if even the heavens bear the burden of what has transpired. Cameras flash like lightning outside the courthouse, reporters pushing for a better position as Christine and Janelle enter together, side by side. Their wordless solidarity expresses more than words ever could. Inside, the tension is tight, nearly palpable. Each pair of eyes in the courtroom is sharper. Each mark the jurors make more deliberate. Yesterday's headlines remain. Journals reveal family betrayal. Kody's outburst shakes courtroom. Today the world anticipates another tempest. The defense goes first. Kody's lawyer calls Robyn to the witness stand. She stands up slowly, moving with a fragile awkwardness, her tissue already clutched in her hand. She's administered the oath with a shaking voice, and when she sits down, her eyes flash to Kody, looking for reassurance, maybe, or comfort that she still has a part to play in his crumbling empire. Robyn speaks gently at first, her voice breaking as she explains to the court that she didn't want this fight, that she thought love overcame jealousy, that her greatest crime was being Kody's favorite wife. She portrays herself as the tragic figure, alone, weighted, condemned by the world for decisions she never really made. The jury listens intently, some of them leaning forward, some of them raising their brows. But then the prosecutor starts cross-examining. Steady, calm, but relentless. They question her about the secret accounts, about vacations and expenditure that only her family profited from, about midnight fund transfers that deprived Christine's and Janelle's children of resources. Her voice trembles. She maintains she didn't know. That Kody took care of it all. That she trusted him as any wife would. But when asked harder questions, when she is presented with papers with her name, her signatures of approval, the tears flow more readily. Her denials grow weaker. For the first time, cracks appear in Robyn's highly polished facade. Christine sits silently, her expression unreadable. Janelle folds her arms across her chest, her gaze fixed on Robyn with a blend of fury and sadness. Kody squirms uneasily, his jaw clenched, his fist resting on the table as if compelling her to stand firm. But the more Robyn speaks, the more it becomes clear. Either she knew more than she admitted, or she allowed herself to turn a blind eye to the truth. The courtroom senses it, the gallery whispers it, and the jury with their silent pens seems to record every tremor in her voice. The session becomes more somber as the prosecutor reads through a chain of emails, laid-back messages between Kody and Robyn, concerning moving extra funds for future security. The language is ambiguous, but the message isn't. Robyn's tears turn to sobs, her shoulders shaking as she covers her face with both hands. The courtroom doesn't witness a wife in distress. They witness a partner engulfed by the secrets that drove this trial. Kody finally inclines forward, speaking in a whisper to his lawyer, but the air is altered already. Robyn was supposed to bolster his case, to render the jury sympathetic with her crying, but she has handed the prosecution a tool. When the judge announces the completion of the day's testimony, no one stands up right away. The quiet is more oppressive than ever. Photographers outside rush to take the headline. Robyn cracks under pressure. Christine and Janelle exit together once again, this time with subtle confidence in their stride. Kody lingers behind, his face dark, his eyes sharp with a storm barely contained. Robyn clings to his arm, but for the first time it is clear to everyone watching. She may not be his shield anymore. She may be his liability. And in trials like this, liabilities don't just weaken you. They can destroy you. The courtroom is different today. The tension that swept in waves before now hangs at all times in the air, like a storm cloud that will not dissipate. The jurors come in with tired faces, their pencils poised but their eyes sharper than before. They have heard tears, confessions, and rants. Today they are craving evidence. The prosecution do not delay. They bring a digital forensics specialist on to the witness stand. A reserved man, careful in his choice of words, he describes how Kody's emails and financial records were accessed, those he thought deleted forever. The screen at the front of the courtroom comes to life, showing email exchanges and bank statements that connect directly to the secret accounts. Gasps spread through the gallery as words turn up in italics on the screen. Keep this between us. Christine doesn't need to know. Move it under Robyn's household account. Each line is a nail, driven one at a time into Kody's credibility coffin. Kody fidgets in his seat, his face flushing. His attorney protests, questions the validity, but the expert is unflappable. He explains server logs, timestamp, encrypted documents, all the proof tracing its way back to Kody's fingers. It's not more testimony. It's information, and information doesn't weep. It convicts. Christine settles back against the recliner, her chest heaving with a trembling breath. For years she had attempted to piece the truth together through intuition, through behavioral patterns. Now laid out before her were the words Kody had believed would remain forever buried. Janelle stands watching with an expression of vindication, though sorrow still tinges her eyes. Robyn gazes at the screen in horror, her mouth moving soundlessly as if she is praying for the words to disappear. She tries to grab Kody's arm, but he jerks it free, his eyes rigidly ahead with a fierceness that is almost animalistic. The defense attempts to make a comeback. They produce a character witness, a childhood friend of Kody's, who testifies about his kindness, his leadership, his sacrifices. But during cross-examination, the witness stumbles. Each act of kindness is met with another secret fact, another questionable move. The jury isn't fooled. The gallery feels the momentum change. Even Kody's erstwhile commanding presence seems diminished, like a figure growing smaller in the same space he used to hold sway over. Then the day's most chilling moment. The prosecution presents a voicemail, an audio recording from Christine's old phone. The courtroom grows silent as the recording plays. Kody's voice is in the speakers, crisp and authoritative. You don't question me. You don't threaten this family. If you can't follow, then you're against us. The words remain suspended in the air after the recording ends. Christine wipes away tears. Janelle's fist tightens. Robyn covers her face with her hands, weeping. Kody looks at the table, his face locked in place, as if he knows the sound of that voice will be etched in the jury's minds forever. They don't just listen to a man. They listen to control, manipulation, and fear clothed in authority. When court recesses at the end of the day, the headlines are ready to be written, explosive evidence revealed, Kody's own words exposed. Outside, reporters yell out questions as the family departs under pulsating lights. But in the courtroom itself, one reality has already sunk in. This trial is no longer about Kody's guilt. It's about how far he will plummet before the verdict is reached. And with every fresh bit of evidence that comes to light, it becomes agonizingly apparent. The worst is yet to come. The courtroom is packed into standing room. Rumor has spread that today might turn everything around, and the tension riding the air feels like electricity preceding a lightning bolt. Cameramen jostle for space. Reporters murmur guesstimates. And the jury sits a trifle straighter, aware of the import of what they're about to listen to. The prosecution recalls Christine again. She appears stronger now. Not broken, not shaking, but firm. She tells of a night years ago, when Kody had the family gather, and he declared new rules that would apply to every household. She tells of how his tone changed from father to dictator, and how Robyn was always seemingly exempt from the weight the rest bore. Her voice swells as she describes the terror that came over her children, how they learned to remain silent instead of confronting their father. And then she utters the words that no one saw coming. I stayed silent too long. I allowed my children to suffer because I was frightened of destroying the family. But remaining silent only destroyed us quicker. The gallery erupts, murmurs churning like a whirlwind. The jury scribbles frantic notes. Kody sits rigid, his face impassive, although clenched fists belie his story. Janelle then returns to the stand. Her words slice deeper still. She speaks of the isolation, the favoritism, the gradual asphyxiation of being part of a family which taught unity and practiced division. She speaks of times when her kids have questioned why their birthday went unmarked, when Robyn's kids were treated to elaborate celebrations. She chokes back tears, as she confesses she used to think Kody's lies. But now, in the light of the truth, she is most hurt by the betrayal. The jury no longer hears just numbers. They are made to sense the heartache, the loneliness, the burden of a shattered dream. Kody leaps up spontaneously, overruling his attorney's objections. He requests permission to address the judge directly. In defiance of better judgment, the court grants it. He faces the jury, his eyes afire. You're only hearing one side, he retorts, his voice trembling with anger. They want to make a villain out of me. But I created this family. I gave everything. Yes, I gave more to Robyn. But she was faithful. All I ever required was loyalty. And they made it betrayal. His words pound against the walls, raw and weighty. But in place of power, the courtroom witnesses a man disintegrating. His voice shatters, his rage overflowing into desperation. Robyn grips his arm, weeping openly. But her tears no longer temper the image. They define it. The prosecutor takes his cue. Unruffled, he reminds the court of the emails, the journals, the tapes. He does not talk of loyalty, but of control, of manipulation, of broken promises in the name of power. And then the surprise. A surprise witness is summoned, an adult member of the family, who has decided to testify at risk. Gasps spread through the courtroom as they make their way to the witness stand, their face white but resolute. Their voice trembles, but their words are firm. I adored my dad. But love isn't blind any longer. We lived in fear of his rage. We lived in the shadow of his decisions. And we watched as he gave everything to one home, while leaving the rest of us behind. I can't remain quiet any longer. The court is hushed with the only noise being the quiet whimper of Robyn's tears, and the scratching of the pen of jurors. Kody remains immobile, his face pale, his body stiff like a statue decaying from the inside out. This is not testimony. It's betrayal from the one source he had believed impenetrable, his blood relations. By the end of the day, the air seems seared, as if everyone has passed through fire. The headlines burst across the country. Kody's own child testifies against him, and as the courthouse disperses into the blinding flashes of cameras and the din of reporters, one reality cannot be avoided. Tomorrow will not be another day in court. It will be the day everything changes. Because today, after today, no one in that courtroom, family, jury, or Kody himself, can ever turn back. The last day breaks with a quiet that is almost heavier than any storm. People line up outside the courthouse hours before the doors even open. Their voices lowered, their excitement palpable. Inside, every seat is taken, every camera trained, every pen at the ready. The air vibrates with the heaviness of what is to come. The judge enters, and the room stands as one. When all is seated again, it is with the shared understanding that history for this family will be made. The jury enter, somber, their faces impassive. The air is thick, a tension that oppresses every chest in the room. The four-person stands. The words come laboriously, deliberately. We, the jury, find the defendant. Kody does not budge. His jaw clenches. His hands are clasped, his gaze frozen on the tabletop in front of him. Robyn has a vice-like grip on his arm, her knuckles white, her lips quivering in muted prayer. Christine and Janelle sit together, their hands interlaced in unspoken strength, their gaze forward. The decision booms like thunder. Gasps run through the gallery. Journalists race from the room, bellowing into phones. Headlines already made before the ink is dry. Kody slouches back gradually, his face white, his features indistinguishable. Robyn collapses next to him, weeping so hard her body shakes and she hides her face in her palms. Christine releases the breath she didn't realize she held, tears glinting in her eyes. Not tears of happiness, but of relief, of at last being understood. Janelle shuts her eyes, one tear slipping down her cheek as her shoulders slump with relief. For the first time, the courtroom is not so much a battlefield as what remains after the battle. Ruin. The judge thanks the jury. The court is dismissed, and the gavel comes down one last time, but nobody stirs at first. The silence is absolute, a silence weighed down with the end of an era. Kody finally rises, his movements stiff, robotic. He doesn't glance at Christine. He doesn't glance at Janelle, not even Robyn. His eyes stay fixed straight ahead, as if the man who insisted on fealty has become a specter in his own narrative. Security escorts him, flanking him as he recedes into the distance, his form dwindling with each step. Outside, a media frenzy erupts. Flashing cameras, thrusting microphones, shouting voices burst into a frenzy of questions. But Christine and Janelle emerge side by side, their faces serene, their eyes unfaltering. They don't have to say a word. Their silence is eloquent. And for those who witness this trial, from start to finish, one truth resonates louder than any verdict. This wasn't merely about money, or property, or betrayal. It was about the cost of silence, the scars of control, and the courage it takes to break free. This is not the end of the story. It is the beginning of the lives rebuilt in its aftermath. Christine is returned to her children, free from the burden of secrets. Janelle enters a future in which she no longer has to ask permission to stand tall. Robyn disappears into the darkness of public opinion, her tears remembered not as innocence but as complicity. And Kody becomes the cautionary lesson of a man who confused control with love and lost all in the process. And as the credits to this courtroom drama roll, one chilling question lingers for all viewers. If it was your family in the dock, what secrets would emerge when the silence finally shattered? What's your take? Was Kody a loyal man, blinded, or manipulator revealed at last? Let us know in the comments. And don't miss the next in-depth dive into the secrets behind Sister Wives. Be sure to hit subscribe on Sister Wife Daily Scoop.